We will be seeing CBDCs of all kinds here in the United States, whether the United States deploys a digital dollar or not, because 130 countries around the world are currently exploring central bank digital currency, or CBDC.
Like Nicaragua has already done it, has it not?
Well, let's put aside small economies. China has already done it, and they already have it in 260 million Chinese citizens' wallets. The European Union has moved from exploration to now development of a digital euro, and they expect to have it in place in the next 2 or 3 years. So the point I'm making...
Where it's been deployed, does it work? What's the experience?
China's works. It's actually quite sophisticated. It's quite powerful, and in a matter of time, China will not only use it for domestic use, but will export it around the world as an export product. You could imagine in, say, 10 years, a digital bolivar, which is basically a white label version of China's digital yuan. It'll have interoperability with China's digital yuan for payments for, say, building up port facilities or water treatment facilities, but it'll be white labeled as a digital bolivar.
You know, Chris, I think one of the sort of backlashes that comes up when this topic comes up is that the government will be able to sort of track what you do with your money. And I feel like, especially in the U.S., people love their privacy. Politics, privacy is a big issue. How big of a stumbling block is that issue, do you think?
So, Mike, first of all, it's a very legitimate concern. Yeah. It's those representatives like Tom Emmer in Congress and DeSantis that have talked about this, they're not wrong to be concerned about this, because the benchmark thus far is China's digital yuan, which is designed for full surveillance of the population. And if that model were to be the basis for a digital currency here in the United States, it would be a disaster. It would violate the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, amongst other things, but it would be a disaster. But let's put that in context for a second. So can a stable coin. Okay, so can any type of centralized system of value is going to be a honeypot for a massive amount of data. So whether the government does it directly with a digital currency or does it indirectly by pressuring stablecoin operators to suck out all the data and hand it over to the government, as they've done with social media platforms.
Right.
The concern about privacy is the key concern. That's why we formed the Digital Dollar Project, to really encourage the United States to lead with its values. The United States doesn't need to focus on whether or not to deploy a digital dollar right now, but it must take a leadership seat at the table that is today deciding what these digital networks of value, both sovereign and non-sovereign, are going to look like, because our economic competitors like Europe and our economic adversaries like China are at the table right now. And in China's case, they want to ensure a digital future of money that is safe for surveillance and safe for censorship. We need to assure a digital future that's safe for democracy.
Right.
Does the central bank surrender anything in terms of monetary policy by going down this path?
Designed right, they could actually obtain much more efficient tools of monetary policy. So take the COVID disaster, for example. What did our government do? It tried to issue paper checks to people because it had no digital means of distributing. Many people who were locked up at home couldn't get to a bank or didn't have bank accounts. But with digital money, you could load it right onto their mobile device and do something that you can't do with cash, engage in online commerce. So a digital currency could actually be a great tool if we can get the other issues like privacy, like financial inclusion, like interoperability, and like resilience to penetration, if we can get those issues right.
I can feel people out there saying, John and Mike, ask them about ETFs. What's happening? Can you jump into that? Where are we with a Bitcoin ETF or whatever?
So, when I was at the CFTC, we green-lighted the first regulated market for any type of crypto, and that was Bitcoin futures in the U.S. And that was 5 years ago, and that market today is liquid, it's transparent, it's operating very, very well, and it's fully regulated. It was on that Bitcoin futures market that the SEC green-lighted an ETF. Today, we do have an ETF, but it's based upon the Bitcoin future, not based upon the spot market. What we're talking about here is green-lighting an ETF on the spot market. Thus far, the SEC has been unwilling to do it because the spot market is actually outside the CFTC's jurisdiction. Long story, which I won't go into now, but it's outside. Congress is toying, and there's some bills that would give the CFTC oversight of that, which would make the SEC's job much easier. Now, having said that, there's a lot of reason to believe that the SEC may be getting ready for an ETF on the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum markets right now. And if we look around the globe, Canada's already done it. Germany's done it. There are other functioning markets that are healthy, that are well regulated. And so I think there's very good arguments that the SEC should, and I think there's anecdotal evidence that they will greenlight that product sometime in the beginning of the year.